Hi, I'm Margarita, and I'd like to show you one of the projects from my newest book, Finish Almost Any Quilt with Quilt-as-you-go. Come on, let me show you. So I'm taking the first project off of the wall. These are some leaf blocks that I bought on eBay a long time ago. And they're pieced, so let's take a look at that. You can see the back, this is the back, and the seams, all right? And they make beautiful points on the edge there. Beautiful 1/4 inch seam. And that's going to require a little bit of adjustment, and I'm going to play with the layout on these. Now, I bought some fabric to go with them also a long time ago, and I've held on to it. It hasn't ever been repurposed to another project. So let me go put those up on the blue design wall and along with the fabrics, and show you what my plan is for these gorgeous blocks. I have these leaf blocks. I've got 12 of them. They're not very big, 8.5 inches square. Not very big. I mean, if I were to join them together, it'd be a pretty small quilt. So, and I just love these blocks. They're gorgeous, very well pieced. Again, not made by me. I bought them on eBay and they're just perfect. So I love the colors, I love the shape of this design. So I've had them for a long time, and I pulled them out, took them with me to the store, and found this fantastic batik. Now, I bought what was left, which isn't very much, and so I've had to finagle how I'm going to cut it up, which has been an interesting challenge. I've made a lot of mistakes on my quilts lately, a lot. That's a whole nother video. So what I did, rather than dive right into cutting this and maybe making a mistake, especially because I've never done this before, I'm going to put these blocks on point, which is just like they are here. Instead of a square, oh, don't fall. I'll take this down. Instead of a square, you know, like we would normally have, they're going to be points up and out, like this inset is here. So this was my test piece. Now this is going to be my backing. And again, I went to my stash of fabrics and pulled out what I liked. I'm going to have to deal with how much I have. And according to the way I've made my calculations, I only have enough to do the backing squares, no joining strips at all. So I'm going to have to finagle how I get or what fabric I use to join the squares with on the back side. I have plenty of this for the top, for both the setting triangles and also for the joining strips and the binding. So plenty of this fabric, which is I'm really glad for. If I can get it out of what's left over, I'll use this on the back for the joining strips. So set these aside for now. Let's talk a little bit about this test square. As you can see, it's not perfect. Now there's a reason for that other than my poor piecing skills. I cut them 2 different sizes, trying to test what would work best. And it's really important for me when I'm adding fabric to my blocks that it be way more than enough, because the quilting will draw the square in a little bit, and then trimming will take some off. So I need a lot of fabric off of my points. That's the whole point of doing this. Setting triangles so that I can place my blocks on point and also have enough room to do my joining strips where it doesn't take away from the block itself. And so that's really important. So here I tested out 2 sizes of triangles, and I'm going to go with the bigger size. For this 8.5 inch block, which that's what this purple is, 8.5 inches, I'm cutting 8-inch squares of fabric, just a square of fabric, and then cutting it on the diagonal. And that diagonal is what you see here. It's sewn to the edge of the square, okay, with just a 1/4 inch seam. And this one was 7.5, not enough. So I'm glad I did this, really glad. I was thinking about just going 8.5 because that's what the block is, and that's fine too. That would have been fine. It would have used up a little bit more of my fabric, but in this instance, I have plenty of fabric. I could have gotten away with that. But I tested it, and I think that the 8 inches is going to be just fine. And so what I'm going to do is go cut all my squares. I have 12 pieced blocks. I need 24 of the 8-inch blocks in order to cut them on the diagonal and then add to all 4 sides of the blocks. So that's the next step. I'll be cutting out those 8-inch squares, and because of course I have enough fabric here. Because I have enough, I can cut first all my binding strips, which is very nice. Then my row joining strips, which I like to have nice and long. I don't like to have to piece them. Then I can cut my 8-inch squares that I need to be my setting triangles. And then out of what's left is what I'm going to use for doing the block joining strips. So time to cut some fabric. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 fabrics. I get them fairly close, and you know how I've said I like my fabrics to be able to stand up and salute. This is it. I can treat them like I would a deck of cards. They're stiff, and that's going to make sewing on this bias edge much, much easier. And I am like the queen of easy. Make it easy. Okay, the last batch. And then ready to sit at the sewing machine and sew these onto opposite ends of each of my leaf blocks. So I'll go get a leaf block and I'll show you. I know you know what I'm doing, but I'll show you anyway. So here's my block, and I'm going to sew on opposite sides, doesn't matter which ones. Okay. That's my iron reminding me that it's still plugged in. Okay, and the biggest deal is this. You sort of want the points to meet in the middle. You want this to be fairly even here, not starting over here, you know, or off here. We want that block centered on this piece, and if it helps you to go trim these triangles off, go ahead and do it. You know my motto, close enough is good enough, and I'm sticking with it. So I'm going to layer them like this, all of my pieces. Look like I'm pretty much lined up evenly here, and sew a 1/4 inch seam down each one. Now this part, it is important to have that scant 1/4 inch seam because of these points. So I don't want to sew over the edge of the point. I'm going to be doing a true quilter's scant 1/4 inch when sewing these on, and I'm going to check them. If my seam is too wide, I'm going to take them back out, just because I really would like this one to be a little bit less sloppy than I usually do. Somebody went through a lot of effort to get these just right, and I'd like to keep them that way. So it's not going to take very long. I'll be back when they're done. These turned out exactly the way I wanted to. I think they're gorgeous. I couldn't be happier. Now, I've got plenty of room all around the edges so that when I trim them down, I'm going to trim them down to 12.5. I'm sure that they're 13 or more right now. That gives me plenty of space that I can do my quilting in, and if it draws the block up, I still have lots of fabric that I can trim around the edges to square up. So now for the quilting. On a block like this, I would almost always stitch in the ditch. I'm guaranteed that I will stitch in the ditch around every single one using a clear polyester thread, not nylon, on top, and probably a bobbin thread on the bobbin or something that matches the back fabric, which is this mottled color, so something in the yellow, pinkish, cream color family. Then from there, I really want these to stand out. I love these leaves. I don't think I'll do much inside them. I might be tempted to take a variegated thread and then just do an echo on the inside of the leaf. Then in the white, just a real quick stipple. Something to just anchor it just a little bit, not a lot. Now, the only part I'm not sure about yet is the triangles, the setting triangles. I'm tempted to do a design in there, but I don't want to get too crazy with the quilting. So I'll think about that and get back to you. Right now, and a good time to think about it too, is when you're layering your blocks with the batting and the backing. So I still have to go cut my backing squares out and cut my batting. And while I'm doing that and while I'm pinning the squares, if I'm unsure about a quilting design, that's when I'll start really thinking a lot about it. Now, I already know that I might want to do that outline quilting, so I know I'll stay away from the edges when I pin. I'm not going to pin in the white areas because I know I'm going to want to stipple there. So chances are I'll be putting a few pins in each of the leaves, and then a couple of pins probably in each of the setting triangles. If I decide to quilt inside these setting triangles, I can just take the pins out as I do that. So, coming right along. Thanks so much for watching. Here's a link to how I machine quilted the blocks for this quilt. And if you want some more information about the book and the rest of the Quilt-as-you-go process, I got a link for that too.